Welcome back to another edition of Zero Block 30. Catherine is out today. She still has COVID. She looked like shit yesterday. It sounded like shit.
Yeah,
I shouldn't say look like shit. I didn't even see her. She sounded like shit. So I assume if her looks matched her sound, it's not a good combination. She's not feeling great. Her son has it as well, which really sucks. That's terrible, man. Like being a parent and having your kid suffer before they're at the age where they could tell you what's wrong is
that's got to be so frustrating, because all you want to do is help them and give them whatever they need to make them feel better, and there's just nothing you're in a constant guessing game, like, will this help them, will this make them feel better? I think that would break just about any parent's heart.
It's basically like the sickness pain version of charades, where you're like drunk and you're with a terrible partner. It's like, dude, you're rubbing your ears, you're rubbing your throat. Just rub one thing. What hurts?
Right.
Ash? What hurts? And having those conversations with your kids is just a nightmare. And then doing it when you're sick. And if you're like me, I don't know how you are when you're sick, Cons. I'm a giant. All of the memes that are about dads and husbands, I fit those to a T. Like,
in what way?
I don't get sick often. But if I get sick, and to the point where I finally will admit that I'm sick, once I get to that threshold, I'm done, dude. I'm like completely out. I know I'm sick, one, if I'm cold. If I'm cold inside in Texas, I know for a fact, I'm like, oh, I am deathly ill. I should probably go to the doctor. But Kate won't do that, because that's the way she is with her son. She's going to still try to do everything along the way with her kid. And that's just the way moms are. Dads are like, fuck that, I'm out.
You just want to lay down. Like when I'm to that same point, because I'm the same way. I don't really necessarily get quote unquote like sick. Like we all get little things here and there, a cough or a sore throat here and there, but like really sick to where you're incapacitated. I just want to lay down and not be bothered. And I don't want to do anything or think about anything. But that's rare.
But if somebody says you got man flu, I pop back up and I'm like, I'm not going to take that. Like, you're not going to, like, where women will compare men levels of sickness and like what they'll still do versus what a guy will do whenever we're sick. She's like, you just got a little case of the man flu, just taking it for your advantage. I'm like, okay, well, what do you want me to do? You want me to go mow? You want me to go build a table? I'll do all that stuff right now. Don't think that I'm a little bitch. I'll prove my toughness right here in this house.
Yeah, what is that about? Why can't, women just accept that sometimes we're vulnerable and we want to be cared for as well? These archaic.
They want to see our emotions until we have emotions.
Exactly. Like,
they'll be like, oh, you're so toxic. It's like, no, it's not. I just have streptococcus.
Yeah. Don't ask me to open up. And then when I open up, you're like, oh, no. Shut that door. Shut that door.
Oh, why are you crying? Why are you crying? Because you have a stomach ache. Because it hurts. Like, can I feel too? I'm a human. Can I have a human emotion? May I showcase that to you right now, ma'am? Is that okay? Is that within your guidelines?
My word.
Yeah, and they don't even ask you to show you on the pain chart, like the level of smileys,
like the smiley
how
face.
Bad you're feeling.
Yeah,
I'd put a 7 right in your fucking face. You want to make somebody who's feeling a 7? I feel a 7 right now. That's a big time frown.
You feel 7 right now?
Oh no, I feel great right now.
Okay.
Well, not really, because
what's up?
Nick asked us for the Podfathers because we're doing this new thing called Barstool Grown Up.
I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see all that.
Yeah, it should be fun. It's like me, Large, Clem, Jordy's going to do it. Kate's going to do it. Smitty's going to do it. Alex Bennett and her mom, Content Kim. A whole bunch of the squad is going to be on there. Barstool Grown Up is where it's going to live at on Instagram, and not on Instagram, on YouTube. We're going to have the full Podfathers episodes are going to be out there. It's going to be great. Lots of like dad jokes. I'm going to be doing dad jokes with my kids to see if they can figure them out or see if they'll actually laugh or not. So it's going to be a fun time. Well, Nick asked us to do advice, and this morning it was perfect timing, like a 60-second little rant on advice of what it would be in order to be a good dad or be a good husband. And my advice was stop asking questions. Just do what you're fucking told. Every husband should know when to be like the commanding general of the base, but more often than not, you are definitely going to be a lance corporal. Like, that's your role in the house. You should know when to be quiet, when to do what you're told. Like this morning, my wife came up and she was like, hey, I've been reading these articles that they're having some difficulties with supply chains. And we've noticed it, like, because really since the pandemic started, we shifted totally to using Instacart or Uber Eats to pick up all of our groceries. One, it was out of necessities at the beginning, but now we're like addicted to it, and not having to go to the grocery store and pick out all the stuff unless you're cooking something special is great. Like, it's like, oh, I need hamburger meat. Fucking bring the hamburger meat over here, Uber Eats guy. Like, and it's fantastic. But she was like, they're having difficulty getting all of the food on the shelves now. Like, there's some spots in San Antonio.
No, dude, that's across the country. I read an NPR article. No big deal. I read NPR talking about the shortages across supermarkets all over the country. It's not just unique to you guys.
Yeah. And so like some of it is the inability to get like grains and things like that. And so it could affect a lot of stuff. So we don't want to wait until the gouging, like the fucking toilet paper fiasco of early 2020. We didn't want to wait for that. So she was like, clean out the freezer, the outside freezer, and go to the butcher shop and get fresh meat. And I was like, okay, well, I'll go do that. I'm not arguing at all. I don't even ask why at this point.
Yeah.
She's like, go clean out the freezer and go to the butcher shop and get like 50 pounds of meat. I'm like, I know, get 100. How about that? Okay. What do you want? I'll go get that. I ordered like 5 bags of dog food, so we'll be good for a while. And it's just been, 15 years ago, how long have I been there? 12 years ago, I'd have never done that. I've been like, why, hun? It's going to blow over. We're going to be fine. But now I'm having that conversation for an hour, and I'm at the butcher shop in an hour and a half anyways. So now I just cut out that hour, and I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go. I'll get a big trash bag, throw everything away, and go get new stuff.
You're absolutely right. I don't know what it was. I don't know if there was a specific event that happened, but a few months ago, I realized when she starts saying, hey, can you do this? Just stop saying anything. Just do it right away. And my life has been considerably happier.
Can you take out the trash? Give me a minute. Oh, I'll just do it. Oh, fine. Right. No.
I've stopped with
2 minutes, please.
I've stopped with that. I don't say a word. If she says, I just turn around, I get away from my desk and I just go do it. And I've realized now I've eliminated so many fights, and the stress level has come down exponentially.
I'm just waiting if she's going to text me to refute any of this.
Well, she's texting me right now. What are you talking about?
Well, before God's get in trouble, we also have some actual things to talk about today. We have 4 rounds of the magazine. Round number 1, Kate still has COVID, is out today, but it could be worse. She could be like a Chinese woman who was stuck in a hasty lockdown with a guy she met for the first time on a blind date. That seems like that should be a movie. Like that should be.
I'll tell you what movie. There is a movie that's very similar to this, and it's a good movie, but I'll tell you about it when we get to it.
Okay. Round number 2, the Army has upped their bonuses for some new recruits for important job fields, up to 50 grand you can get straight out from the jump. Pretty damn good. Not a bad gig if you can get it. Round number 3, one person the Army should target for enlistment bonus is a brilliant spouse who did some old-fashioned espionage during a PCS move, which should become the standard. If you're listening to this on active duty and you have a PCS move, this should become a no-brainer and everybody should do it. And finally, round number 4, go to jail or join the military. The old tit for tat appears to be back, and it's back in a gross way, and the first time that it's happened in a while. Florida said that they were going to start doing this a couple of weeks ago, and now we have an actual case, and not the best one. Like this one would be a big, solid, firm no from me, dog. And all that is going to be brought to you by our good friends at Whistlepig. They're the presenting partner of the podcast, and I'm so damn glad. Last night, stressful night here at the house. Baby Sprinkle Dinkles, my fucking cat, dude. Like she and I used to, if you would have told me, I think of all the things, like we often joke that there's like Pastor Matthew, Staff Sergeant Cochran,
a lot of different lives.
Now me.
Yeah.
I think the biggest one, if you would have told me when I was in that I would be like a cat dad, I'd have been like, you are outside of your fucking mind.
Right.
Like, there's no shot. Sprinkles did something where she pushed her collar up into her mouth, and like it was stuck all the way in the back, like a sex gag doll, essentially, where you put it in your mouth and you can't close it, so you can't scream. And she was like, ah! like, and I was like, what the fuck is that? It was coming from the kitchen. I was downstairs. So I broke a promise to the listener. I actually ran up the steps because it was like bloody murder. And I go in there, I pull it off because it was like one of those tearaway collars. Yeah. And I just go and tear it away. I felt like the Incredible Hulk, like Hulk Hogan. Like I was just like, oh, brother, I've been eating my vitamins and saying my prayers. Save my cat. And I pulled it off. And then when I was stressed, I was like, you know what I need? I need a sip of the good stuff. I need a little bit of whistle.
You deserve it. Absolutely.
And luckily they had the piggyback right there on my dresser. It was fantastic. If you haven't tried it yet, try out Whistle Pig, whether that's going to be in their cans. If you don't like straight up whiskey, which a lot of folks don't, you will like it if you try this one though. But the piggyback barrel aged craft cocktails come in a can. They're so much better than seltzer. They're crisp, they're refreshing, and they're super bold and flavorful. They don't taste like, I think a lot of seltzer can get to the spot where they taste like almost flat Sprite with a little bit of alcohol mix in. That's not what these taste like. You can get it in fresh ginger lime, blackberry lemon fizz, or a session citrus mint. They're all fantastic. You can get them all at piggybackrisemash.com for more info, and make sure you grab a box in a select store. They're starting to show up. We're seeing it more and more on the timeline where people are tagging us, tagging Bussin' with the Boys, KFC Radio, so many of the other podcasts that are participating in this promotion as well. Go check it out. It's great stuff. Thanks to them for being the presenting partner here on the show. Let's get going with the actual show. We're going to start off in old Hong Kong. Some reports it was supposed to be a quick get to know you, but a snap COVID lockdown forced a Chinese woman to stay with her blind date at his house for days on end. First up, bizarre move to go on a blind date to somebody's house. That's an error.
Yeah. Two things. One time before Alex, I matched with a girl on Tinder, and I just randomly, I was going to Vermont that weekend to ski with buddies. I was like, do you want to come? But before we did that, we met for lunch to make sure that we were compatible enough to go away. And sure enough, she came away, and now she's actually good friends with my sister. That's a whole other story. But also, this is the exact plot to the movie Two Night Stand starring Miles Teller, which this is a delightful little rom-com that I actually enjoyed.
Is it on Netflix?
Yeah. It's on something. I know it's streaming on something right now.
I've got to break this cycle in my life. Like there's not often times that I'm in the mood to watch a movie.
Yeah.
But if I do, it's always a movie that I've already seen. Like, I hardly ever watch a new movie. Like if I'm going to sit down, I'm like, oh, I guess I'll watch Law Abiding Citizen again. Like that's just the way that I get down. But I do not think I could do a blind date with somebody straight to their house. I think that's weird. The 30-year-old woman, identified only by her surname, went to meet her blind date for a home-cooked dinner on January 6th in her hometown, a central city in China, grappling with the coronavirus outbreak. She said, I'm getting old now. My friends introduced me to 10 matches, she said in a video on social media. The fifth date wanted to show off his cooking skills and invited me over to his house for dinner.
I think that's a great first date. Do you agree?
I think if it's a double date, double or triple date, I just put myself like as a dad, like looking at it. If one of my kids was like, hey, I'm going to go meet up with a dude I met on fucking Tinder and I'm going to go to his house and he's going to cook for me. I'm like fucking hell you are. No, you're not. Not unless you got that fucking thing on you. You're not going over there. That's fair. She said the fifth date wanted to show off his cooking skills for dinner. And just when she was about to go home, she found out the whole neighborhood had gone into a swift lockdown. That's something that must be different from China and here, like, because you couldn't just say everybody stay in place, right? Unless there's like a bomb in the building or something.
But even then, how are you going to physically restrain people from staying inside their home?
Yeah. She says that the article goes on to say China regularly seals off communities after COVID infections are detected among residents. These sudden lockdowns, along with mass testing and extensive quarantine, are a part of the country's stringent zero COVID strategy to quickly stamp out the local outbreaks. Unable to leave, she was stuck at her date's house for days. She posted videos of her unexpected co-living experience on social media, showing her date cooking her meals, sweeping the floor, and working on his laptop. In other words, he was living. The videos quickly went viral, with Wang's encounter becoming a top trending topic on Weibo, China's Twitter-like platform. She had returned to the southern city recently ahead of the Lunar New Year and spent a week making potential suitors visit her family. This lady is slanging. I mean, I have heard that Chinese women, attractive Chinese women, because there's so many more men than women, right? They essentially had they're the belle of the ball. They got the pick of the litter.
I don't.
Something.
I don't hate this approach. You line up 10 potential suitors. It's almost, there's definitely a Disney movie where they're lining up suitors. I forget, but maybe Nick, you can remember what movie I'm thinking. Maybe not Cinderella. Maybe Cinderella. I don't know.
Yeah, Cinderella,
anyway,
they do it big time.
Yeah.
But
So this
it's
is
the
kind of like
reverse where
Cinderella.
everybody's
Right.
trying to get the prince.
Right. So I don't hate this move by her. Just lining up dates and
Sleeping
having
Beauty,
men.
maybe too.
True. But if this guy's a really good cook, this is actually not a bad place to.
Well, she will
get
have
stuck.
to read more cons because she's not, or he's not. During quarantine, I felt that apart from him being reticent like a wooden mannequin, that's brutal, man. That poor fella. Everything about him is pretty good. He cooks, cleans the house, and works. Although his cooking isn't very good, he's still willing to spend time in the kitchen, and I think that's great. He's been serving her up stir-fried type meals with tomatoes and scrambled eggs, which is a popular dish in China. And Wang said in a post on Monday that she had hidden her original video from her account after it went viral. Right now, I'm still at the man's house. He's inarticulate, honest. He's an inarticulate. God damn, dude. She's brutal to this guy. Like, if I wouldn't do that. It's coming into focus.
It's coming into focus more and more why she's single.
Oh, yeah, because she seems like a real biatch. He's an inarticulate, honest person and doesn't talk very much. After my video became trending, some friends started calling him, and I think it's affected his life. That's why I removed it. Yeah, dude, you called him a wooden mannequin and said that he's inarticulate and that he can't cook, and you're still in his house, and he's being nice to you.
That's just not nice. That's just rough. But I will say being able to cook just goes such a long way. I'm very fortunate. I'm pretty sure you saw by now. Alex, bless her heart, I was, top of the show saying some things about her, but I want to give her some praise right now. She decided the other day, like, hey, we should bring Kate something. So I got to give her most of the credit. She went food shopping, made her this big heaping tray of ziti that I brought over to Kate.
Zeke,
and the hardest part,
right, Nick?
Oh, okay. Okay. The hardest part was like driving it over there and not being able to eat anything. Because I will give Alex so much credit when she cooks. Like, if you come to my house, you're not going to leave hungry. Like, I'm not going to just throw a plate of nachos at you and call it dinner.
God damn it.
I'm going to.
That was a mistake. I fell asleep. Fuck Dave.
Anyway.
Being mean. I'm never having them over for Easter again.
You might have a tough time convincing them to come.
Yeah,
so I think you're all right there.
That's fair.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But anyway, what would be the ideal situation if you're getting stuck in a stranger's house? Is there an ideal situation where
not getting roasted online, I think is
probably
the ideal situation, because you have to make the best of it, because I imagine that they do some not kind things to you in China if you do break one of those curfew rules. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine it goes super well for you. But if I was there, I would hope that I wasn't getting roasted. That would be so uncomfortable. If he found out that she was roasting him, honest to God, I'd kick her out. Like, I'd be like, good, then get the fuck out. This is my house.
You deal with the government. You don't like it here? I'm giving you free food.
I don't know. You get the fuck out.
I don't owe you anything.
I'd be like one of those screaming mad Uber drivers when people won't get out of their cars.
Yes.
Going viral for that.
Right. I don't have a problem with him kicking her out when he finds out she's just talking all sorts of shit about him.
Then she ends her interview by saying, thanks for everyone for your attention. I hope the pandemic will end soon and that single girls can find a relationship. What about the fellas? He's bringing you into his house. I imagine that she's taking showers, that she's eating. I'm sure she's not Venmoing him that money.
Right. That's true. She's just using all his stuff.
And then talking shit on him. A wooden mannequin. Calling somebody a wooden mannequin is brutal. Not even a plastic one. You're like an old, crusty mannequin.
Yeah, she's exposing herself. She's going to have a hard time. She's going to have a hard go of it from here on out, trying to find
doubt it, because she's a woman in China.
Suitor.
There's not so many of them.
I feel like is 30 on the older side in China to still be single as a woman? Like in the United States, I think it's perfectly normal and acceptable.
Now, what about China? Before it wasn't 30.
Yeah.
I mean, even 30 years ago, you were single at 30. That's pretty old.
Yeah. So anyway.
I mean, you go down to where I'm from, somebody 24, 25, and they're not engaged yet. You're like, what the fuck's wrong with her? She got fucked up titties or something? Oftentimes the answer is yes.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
Tough times.
Yeah, let's move on to round number 2. You never got a reenlistment bonus because you weren't enlisted, but you did. Did you guys ever get any type of bonuses? Like, could there, in your line of work, I know, like if you're a surgeon, you're an attorney, something like that, you could get a bonus like that goes along with your contract. An artillery officer, could you have ever been in line for a bonus?
No, not that I'm aware of. Maybe
if the MOS
available.
gets like critically low or something like that, maybe they can entice you a little bit.
Possibly.
But for some of these MOSs, it is difficult, especially if you are working in the biggest one in the Marine Corps that they used to just take people left and right, air traffic controller. When I was in, I think it was 2010-ish, not 8 or 9, whenever I reenlisted, and the air traffic controllers were getting $89,000 to reenlist for 4 years to stay in. And it was all lump sum. And a lot of their commands would allow them to fly to combat zones so that they could have those bonuses be tax-free, which is, if you can do that for your people, do that for your people. Like, that's Absolutely. A no-brainer. Like, if you can make that, like, their money go further, always do that for your folks. But I think my bonus that I got was either 32,500 or 36,500. It was one of those two. And because I remember I was in doing presidential security stuff. I was in New York City, and I was staying at the DoubleTree on 51st and Lexington. And whenever I woke up the morning, I had gone out with my buddy Doc, who's been on the show, and we went to the Hustlers Club in New York and had quite a wild time where this dude that was
Were you in uniform when you went?
No, we were just in, we were basically done. We had an extra day. We had a full day off, which was rare. The next day was off. We got off at like 6 o'clock that night, 1800 for you military types. And we were allowed to go out, and we had the full next day off. So we were like, we are 2 single dudes are in Manhattan. Let's go out and have a good time. We're not here that often. So we went out and we stopped at this bar, and this guy was like, oh, you guys look like military dudes. Are you here for Fleet Week? It was something like that. It might not have been Fleet Week, but it was something like that. And we're like, no, we're here. We're working with Secret Service and doing that type of thing. And he was like, well, he looked at the bartender, anything that these guys want for the rest of the night, it's on me.
Wow.
And we were like, dude, that's a mistake.
He backed you up all night. That's very nice.
Yeah. And so we took a couple shots of Patron, and then he was like, you guys want to go with me to my next spot? I got a car out. We were like, sure. So we get in the car, and which is, looking back, I'm like, this was monumentally stupid to do.
What did this guy look like? Not that we judge books by their cover, but
he looked like a typical Wall Street dude. And the bartender knew him too. Like, the bartenders all like knew him, like, oh yeah, like saying his name and shit. He was a regular there. So that gave me a little more ease to do this. And he just looked at us in the face, and he's like, so do you like your girls slutty, kind of slutty, or more classy? And I was like, well, I mean, we're in New York, so let's just go kind of slutty. We don't want anything super slutty. So we end up going to the Hustler Club. He gets like a private room and things like that. I remember walking hammered, crawling essentially through the DoubleTree Hotel, going up to the counter, getting a warm cookie, and then going to my room. And the next day, like, normally when you really pour one on, you're like, how much money did I spend last night? Yeah. And so I looked, and my reenlistment bonus had hit while I was in the hotel, and my bank account went from like $3,000 to like 35,000 in the checking account. And I was like, wow, holy shit. Then that was by far the most money I'd ever had.
That's a good feeling. So the only thing I can relate it to is that I'm pretty sure it's all the service academies. Your junior year, you get a loan at 1% interest that you pay back over the course of your service. And it's basically as though, because it's coming out of your paycheck, you never saw it. So it's basically free money. You don't have to take it, but you'd be an idiot not to. So for me, it was 30 grand, and I think it's up to like 36 grand now.
Nice. But yeah, that's a good deal. And like people, if you, like you said, it's the same thing as buying a house. If you're buying a house, you're foolish not to roll in some of those upgrades into your mortgage, because you're paying it off over 30 years instead of paying the cash right now. And the cash that you're spending now is going to be less. It's going to be worth less in like 15 years anyways. But anyways, so the Army for the first time is offering a maximum enlistment bonus of $50,000 to highly skilled recruits who join for 6 years. And that's a bump up. Whenever I did it, it was 5 years is what it was. So now they're asking for an additional year. The Associated Press has learned as the service struggles to lure soldiers to certain critical jobs during the continuing pandemic, Major General Kevin Vereen, the head of Army Recruiting Command, told the AP that shuttered schools and competitive job market over the last year has posed significant challenges for recruiters. So heading into the most difficult months of the year for recruiting, the Army is hoping some extra cash and a few other changes will entice the qualified young people to sign up. One, they should do, you shouldn't even need a waiver if you've smoked weed. Just get rid of that altogether. Like, don't even ask, like, if they smoke weed. Who cares? Just say you can't smoke weed while you're in. Like, don't do any test drugs. Them. Why even bring it up? Who gives a shit?
Right. At this point, I don't think it really matters, because if you can monitor everything going forward from the day that you get them, I don't think it matters what they did in their past.
And it's not like acid where it could stay in your system for a long time, like, or something like that, or it's going to erode your brain. Once you stop smoking weed, you're no longer high. You're going to be fine. So why even ask?
Correct.
Vereen
I actually read an article today really quickly that smoking is making a comeback. It used to be, weed was like the cool thing to do, the taboo, but now because it's become so much more mainstream, and especially for medicinal purposes, that it's not seen as, as cool anymore. So smoking has made it. Yeah, it's not as edgy. Smoking's making a comeback.
So repping heaters is back.
Yeah. Yeah. So just keep an eye out for that.
Cigarettes and banana. That's the way to go. He said, we lost a class of young men and women that we didn't even have contact with face to face. For 2 years, the pandemic has made it difficult to recruit in schools and at public events. And the competition for quality workers has intensified as young people weigh their options. Yeah, because principals aren't going to let recruiters in now. No, definitely not. They're not letting anybody in. Even parents can't go. Like in the public school system here, parents can't walk through the hallway. You got to wait for your kid at like the entrance for them to come, which, I mean, it makes sense, because if you have one dumbass parent, which we've got a lot in Texas, you'll get screwed real quick. So some of these jobs, they are the ones that you would think. There are infantry, intelligence analysts, combat medic specialists, military police, combat engineer, others. I'm sure that air traffic controller is among those as well. And those may change every month based on spots, which they have to do. They have to fluctuate. If you need certain spots, you have to open up money, because why else would you go? I mean, with money going up, minimum wage, and a lot, even fast food spots offering $15-20 sometimes to starting pay, you're going to have to increase the military budget get people to do it. Because why would you, if you can earn the same? Buc-ee's here, like the big gas station here, there's shift workers that at Buc-ee's, like at the gas station, that can start at $28 an hour in Texas.
$28 an hour? That's a heck of a wage.
That's a heck of a working at a gas station, dude. That's great money. Like, that's fantastic. I'm sure it's comparable, and they get college. Like, they pay for college if you work there longer than 6 months. Like, they have all these different things. The military's really got to up it, because there's so many jobs now that are going to give better job. After the pandemic, people are like, I ain't going back to work for fucking $8. Are you kidding me? And why would you?
No, absolutely. You know what? The other thing, obviously money always talks, and I understand. I agree with you. They should open up the budget. But the other thing that I think the Army should do, we have so many posts that are just undesirable locations. Like, nobody wants to go to Fort Polk, Louisiana, Fort Sill in Lawton, Oklahoma, Fort Drum. Open up some of our other spots, Hawaii, Italy, Germany. Give people the opportunity to go to some of these nicer locations. And I think that would also increase recruitment. I really
pay them more to go there.
Yes. Also pay them more to go there, because all the places I just mentioned,
Drum could be a hardship duty.
Absolutely could. Absolutely. With the weather that they deal with.
People get the same amount for living in San Diego and fucking Fort Drum. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's absurd. I would open up all these other more desirable locations and take advantage of that, because right now the amount of slots available to those locations are so small. Figure out a way to get more people to those places, and I guarantee you'll get more people to sign up. Like, if you told me, hey, Connor, and everybody's different, but if you said, hey, Connor, sign up, I'm going to give you $50K and you get to go live in Hawaii for 6 years, I think a lot of people would say, yeah, cool, I'll go do that.
Dude, I had to pick here or going to Rome. Like, I had to pick being at the dog school or going to Rome, where there was an MP station where you would teach like the Italian military how to shoot. Like it was a special tactical school. And because I had gone to the HRT school with the DEA, I was qualified to teach at that school and be an instructor. And so they gave me the option of, do I want to go to Rome or do I want to go to San Diego? But or San Antonio, if I would have went to Rome, I would have lost custody of my kid. So I couldn't do that. So I was like, no. But Annalise had already applied to or was going to apply to the University of Rome. And that's where she was going to get her doctoral degree. But instead she got it from some school in Arizona, which not exactly the same.
I mean, Rome's fantastic. And I think that's the appeal too for Europe. Once you're in Europe, especially Eastern Europe, you can really just go so many places very easily. So that's
where
such
the
an
Marine
appeal.
Corps sucks. We don't have anything in Europe.
Really? Nothing?
Nothing. I mean, unless it's a very small outpost, like I was just talking about, there's not a single Marine Corps base in Europe.
Interesting.
It's the only one that's overseas is Japan and Hawaii. That's it.
Yeah, you guys need to fix that. Get something in Rome there. Because I think, or not in Rome, in Europe, because I would go.
I would like to go to some place smaller that's like,
maybe like Belgium,
like Lithuania
or Croatia would be cool. Ooh, Croatia would be gorgeous.
Dude, those travel shows on Croatia is so underrated.
Yeah.
And I'll go on Zillow. You can go on like Zillow for Croatia. You can buy a fucking nice ass house for like $100,000 in Croatia.
I don't want to know that because I'm looking at houses right now in New Jersey. It's just depressing. Because
did I tell you one of my buddies got full like medical retirement and like retirement from the Marine Corps too? So he got like the VA at 100 because he got injured at some point, and then he also retired, so he gets the double dip. So his paychecks for retirement are like $5,500 a month. He's moving to the Philippines.
Wow.
He's a single dude. He's 41 years old, and he's like, I'm moving to the Philippines. They have a Navy base there. I'm going to live out in town. I'll live like a king.
Wow. Imagine that. But see, like for me, I could never do that just because I wouldn't want to be away from family and friends. But I guess if you have nothing really tying you too tight to the States,
$6,000 a month in the Philippines, you live like a king. Bring them all over too.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Have either of you guys going? I'll be interested to see if it works, if this works. And because there is such a like a sloth of folks that can't join right now that want to, I think they're going to have to either loosen up the regulations like tattoos and things that you would normally get waivers for. I think they're going to have to be looser, or money, and money usually gets the job done too.
Yeah. And money's also the easiest lift too, right? Like, okay, we'll just give them a little money. Cause I think the suggestion that's
basically the military version of sprinkle a little crack on them.
Yeah. I mean,
throw more money at it.
The suggestion I made would definitely take a little more heavy lifting. So if you just have the money, just give it to them. And we always hear about this goddamn defense budget. Let's just start using it a little smarter.
Strong GD.
Sorry, I don't mean to use a GD. I apologize, but you get the point.
Big Al's going to be furious. All right, let's move to round 3, where if you're moving from Fort Drum to San Diego in one of those weird moves that you're going to do, make sure that you do exactly what this woman named Valerie did, because the military outpost from Military Times says that military families in the midst of moving continue to suffer as shipping disruptions leave them without their household goods for extended periods of time after they have arrived at their new duty stations. One Army wife, Valerie McNulty, deployed a brilliant solution to help track down her family's household goods as they made permanent change of station move to Fort Carson, Colorado to Fort Drum, New York. Concerned about lost or delayed items, McNulty attached an Apple AirTag to one of the boxes prior to the move. Quote, you hear so many horror stories when it comes to PCSing, she told the Military Times. With those stories in mind and having read about people putting AirTags with some of their household goods, I decided it would be worth testing this theory. She attached to the device a small Bluetooth tracker that you can locate from other Apple devices like an iPhone, iPad, or a MacBook to box of her son's toys. This is the couple's 4th PCS move, 2 full do-it-yourself moves and 2 partial. One prior partial PCS, we were very fortunate. All of our items were delivered when they were supposed to be, and very few household items were broken. This PCS was a very different story. After surpassing the expected delivery date on January 7th, McNulty reached out to the move coordinator and learned that the household goods were supposed to be delivered the next day. When she turned on the AirTag, she was able to confirm that her family's belongings were a mere 4 hours away in Elizabeth, New Jersey. So McNulty was surprised a short time later when she received a call from the driver who had told her he had just picked up her household goods in Colorado and next day delivery was impossible. When she confronted the unnamed driver about being just a few hours away, he hung up on her.
Oh shoot. Click.
I love just a straight up panic move.
Yeah.
Like you
panic hang up.
But
We've
have
all
you
been
read
there.
this story, Cons? Did you read ahead?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he did it for some pussy. Not a surprise at all. She said, I made him aware that I knew he was only 4 hours away from us. And he called back several minutes later, trying to bargain again to see if he could deliver it on Sunday or Monday. Afterwards, McNulty attempted to raise alarms with the driver, but the company was reportedly unaware of the driver's location. At this point, I had more information than they did, all because of the AirTag. She said, I didn't know. The driver told her, I didn't know you could track me. I'm going to
just
go
picture him on the phone with her, like peeking through the blinds. Like, where is this lady? Is she in the bushes looking at me? What's going on here? How does she know where I am?
You can't get away with shit these days. Like
No.
breaking in, like crime is it's got to be obsolete or you got to be somebody super smart.
Dude, I think about that all the time.
Amazon package, you're done.
No, I think about that all the time. Like if you wanted to commit a crime these days, the amount of things that you would have to think of to cover up is
you couldn't do it.
Yeah,
like cell phone pings and all that shit. Like all those.
It's impossible.
Like, have you seen the January 6th committee? Like with all the people who have been arrested or charged, they have this graph. It's a graphic that it's like GIF format where you can watch the cell phones of individual people and where they went in the building and exactly where they're at after the fact. Like there's so many things that law enforcement can do that we really have no idea, like deleting a text message. That shit doesn't matter. Like there's nothing deleted ever. Like you can't get away with it. The driver eventually called her back and said that I didn't know you could track me. I'm going to go see my lady. I can still have your household goods to you by tomorrow, but I will have to hustle. Buddy, no one gives a shit that you have to hustle. Fucking beat feet.
Just do your job.
Yeah. Hello, you're running. Hello, you're running. So she said that eventually she got it back and it went viral. But I think that that's a great lesson for everybody. Track your shit, man. Like don't trust anybody with anything.
No, absolutely. And unfortunately, I don't know what the deal is and why this is a common occurrence, whether it's the companies that the military continues to contract to do these moves or what. I did two really big moves and both were partial Diddy, do it yourself. And that was for the reason that anything that I thought like, all right, I can't absolutely lose this and it would break me if I lost this. I put it in my car and I traveled it with myself. Everything else was basically furniture where if it got broken or lost, okay, whatever, it's furniture. I'll buy new furniture. Because also, if I remember correctly, it's all insured and they obviously do, they list out everything. So if something's lost or broken, they'll pay for you to get something new. But I mean, I don't know why the military has continued to see this problem. It's been a problem for like 20, 30 years. Nobody has stepped in and figured this out. And I think it's a lot of times situations like this where
just the moving industry,
lazy.
like that. One, it's incredibly hard to move that amount of stuff cross country without hitting a pothole or something like that, where things shift around and get messed up. I did the same thing. I was like, I'll opt to, because there's some things that I really care about. So whenever I drove from Virginia to San Antonio, I put all of my like military awards and things like that in my trunk because I wanted to make sure. Sure enough, I got a trunk leak in my car and every single one of my awards was waterlogged and completely ruined. All right, let's move on to round number 4. First off, before we get into this specific case, how do you feel in general about join the military or go to jail?
I'm going to tell you very honestly, I have never actually seen that in real life. It was always just something that maybe I saw in movies or television. And it was never anything that I heard about someone or had anyone in my unit who, it was either join the army or I was going to be in jail. So I don't know. It always just kind of seemed like fiction to me. I never actually saw it. What about you?
I kind of go, the only times I've really seen it is in movies. I didn't really know of it too much. I did see there was a guy that got a DUI out in town in Stafford, Virginia, just outside of Quantico. And he was one of my Marines. And I had to go to the court case whenever he was there. And they were saying, you either re-enlist or we're going to put this on your record. And they like looked at me. I was a staff NCO, and they're like, "Can we set this up?" And I was like, "No, like they're not going to let him reenlist.
Yeah,
Like it's
right.
not up to you if he can reenlist or not. The Marine Corps will say no." Like, and that's
Mhm.
what I think a lot of times judges overstep, and which would be very hard if you were a judge, because everything every day you say goes. Like in your courtroom, you are in charge. Every
Mhm.
single thing that you want done in your courtroom happens. Somebody talks back, good, go to jail for 30 days.
That's crazy, dude.
Which
Isn't
is
that
an
crazy?
insane power. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you just interrupted me? Good. Jail, 15
Yeah.
days.
Contempt of court.
It's
Jail.
almost
Yeah.
like that Parks and Recs scene where it's like, believe it or not, undercooked fish, jail. Overcooked fish, also jail. Like that's basically what happens. And I think not just with judges though, with generals, like you experience those same things, which I read an op-ed. I don't remember where it was from, where they were talking about like Secretary Austin and how they don't believe that generals will make good secretaries of defense because they are so used, once they get to like 3 or 4 stars, they're so used to nobody arguing with them, nobody expressing really differences of opinions, that
Mhm.
when it's not their idea that's the best one, they don't really know how to react. Like again, when people
Yeah.
don't agree. So you need to have people that are used to working in more civilian types where that's not necessarily the case. But in reality, I feel like it depends on what position you're in civilian world too. Like us with Dave, for example. Dave is
Right.
essentially Barstool's general. Like if Dave made a decision about betting and I was like, Dave, you know what? I actually just don't think this is a good idea. He would tell
No.
me to go fuck myself just as fast as a general would have if I'd have said that when I was a corporal. Like
Right.
the same exact thing. There are certain cases that in no way, shape, or form the military should entertain. And this is what Judge Thomas Wingate wanted to happen. He handed down a 12-month sentence suspended for 2 years to Brandon Scott Price for second-degree sexual assault, a Class A misdemeanor. If the 28-year-old were to enlist in the military in the next month, however, Wingate would apparently overturn any jail time, according to the Frankfort, Kentucky State Journal newspaper. If you don't enroll in 30 days, you can report to the Franklin County Regional Jail. You are under the gun, young man. You got to do it. One, it takes longer than that to do it, Judge. You can't
Yes.
just fucking show up at boot camp. It's not like a Walmart where you can just walk in and be like, hey, I'm here for some training. Where are the guns at? Like, that's not how it works. You can't do it.
My uniform and my gun. Thanks.
And this makes it even worse because Price was a guard at the Franklin County Regional Jail in 2019 when he assaulted a female inmate of the jail, according to the lawsuit filed by the inmate against Price. On January 18, 2019, Price was checking an inmate's blood pressure and found it elevated, prompting an order for Price to take the woman to a local emergency room. Though Price's shift was near its end, Price volunteered to transport the inmate to the hospital. Price transported her alone in violation of the jail policy and industry standards and practices. And while under his custody at the hospital, Price allegedly made sexually charged comment to the inmate and referenced his ability to sway parole board decisions. On the return trip to the jail, Price pulled the van over he was driving and assaulted the woman, according to the suit. He turned around and told the inmate if she performed oral sex on him, he would take her to the CDOC employee he knew about getting her released from jail earlier. Price then assaulted the woman while she was shackled in the rear of the vehicle.
Dude.
How the fuck you think that guy deserves anything but prison time?
Right.
Insane.
Him giving him any option is ridiculous. This guy is clearly an animal. I don't want him in my platoon at all.
Right.
Especially, I don't know if you've noticed this, Judge. There are both men and women in the military, so he could
sexual
potentially.
assault's a big issue in the military already.
Deal. Yes,
somebody that has that propensities to do it to somebody that's
why would you welcome that?
Handcuffed.
That's what I think. You are an actual
how
animal.
The fuck is that a misdemeanor?
Right. I don't understand that. The person was defenseless, shackled. That's terrible. I don't understand how that's a misdemeanor.
Coercion, like essentially kidnapping. Like you could have had all kinds of charges. It's insane.
This guy's a horrible person.
The judge too. The judge says you're getting a huge
both
break.
of them. You're right.
You made a terrible mistake, which I know personally cost the county money. That's the
what
judge.
What are we talking about? Why do you give a shit about the cost of the county money? How about this inmate?
She's a person.
She's in jail. That's fine. Yes, but exactly. She's still a person. that she should be treated as such. You don't treat her like some, object just because she's in jail. That's terrible.
He goes on to say, the guy Price said, "I made a stupid mistake and quote, let a female inmate touch me inappropriately." Dude, you coerced her, and essentially, like, that's rape. Like, it's controlled rape.
Yeah,
like, you're in a position of power where what is she going to do? She doesn't know. Like, put yourself in the position of this woman. If you're in this car, you have somebody who has the authority of the law behind them. You're by yourself. You're shackled. He has the ability to say whatever the fuck he wants to. And the law is going to agree with him. Most likely, 99% of the time, if the officer says something happened, they're going to take the officer's word for it. And so, like, if she could picture in her mind saying, like, what if he goes back and said that I tried to hit him or I tried to assault him while we're in transport? Then she's super fucked.
She's screwed either way. No matter, she's damned if she does, damned if she doesn't. Either way, she's in a horrible position, and he's a horrible person for putting her in that position. That's just, we talk all the time about, or maybe not all the time, but in the Army values, this is not living up to the Army values. So why would you want that person wearing our uniform?
Right.
I don't
and
understand.
That's what this article goes on to say. It says, without a waiver, Army Regulation 610 TAC 210, which covers Army recruiting guidelines, states that an applicant is not eligible for enlistment if, quote, as any condition of civil conviction or adverse disposition or any other reason through a civil or criminal court, they are ordered or subjected to a sentence that implies or imposes enlistment into the United States Armed Forces. So maybe, Judge, you should look it up to see if it's even fucking legal. Like, you can't the Army doesn't do that shit anymore.
And rightfully so. Thankfully, we don't do that, but
and I think that there's some cases that you could, like, for instance, if there's a rough and tumble kid that's coming up, like, let's say you are from rural Alabama and you get into a fight with somebody at a bar, and like, you have character witnesses. This is a good person. Like, he made a mistake. And the judge says, look, you either enlist or you're going to jail. And this is a first time thing. And it was just like a drunken mistake or something like that. Sure. Like, I can understand those situations because you do need rough and tumble people, like, especially in infantry MOSs where you might have to do some violence against somebody one day. I don't have really an issue with that. Or like jaywalking or trespassing or unpaid parking tickets, not child support, unpaid parking tickets, things like that. Totally fine. Right? Like that. I don't think that that's a big deal.
Yeah, because the judge saying here, like, oh, you made a mistake. No, making a mistake is like, oh, you're in the back of the van and you hit a bump and you accidentally touched her inappropriately. That's a mistake. This was a premeditated, seemingly, and it was a series of actions, not just a mistake. It was a series of inappropriate actions that this person had the opportunity to think about.
Series of sexual assault.
Yes, series of sexual assaults. So I don't understand. Somebody needs to talk to this judge and say, Judge, this sounds to me like this is a judge who's been on the bench for a long time at this point.
Oh, this judge just 1,000% looks like Mitch McConnell. 1,000%.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to look him up right now, see what he looks like. There's no shot this dude doesn't look like Mitch McConnell. Let's see, Judge Thomas Wingate.
He's acted without impunity for decades and just done whatever he's wanted, which I mean,
small Kentucky town court judge. Oh yeah.
I mean, and it's just a great example too of how absolute power corrupts absolutely. I don't know if you've ever heard that one before, but it's just not good if this judge is handing out these options to just terrible members of society.
He doesn't look as old as I thought he was going to look. He looks younger than I thought. Like, he's probably around 60, I would say, is how old he is. But still, regardless, this is not a great example to have. It's not what you would want. And the article does hit the point that we wanted to say too. While many veterans have heard stories of squad mate who enlisted to avoid a jail stint, the history behind this is more complicated. And it goes on to say that it doesn't take into account whether service members would want to serve with those who have been convicted of crime, particularly violent ones. At the height of the war on terror, the military was granted thousands of moral waivers for enlistments for such things as drug offenses, violent felonies, and sex offenders. And that violent offenders and sex offenders is really, like twisted. That is not what happened at all. Like there was some cases where people were younger and they had some violent, like an assault and battery, something like that, but nothing like this. Or if it did, it was a huge mistake, and that shouldn't have happened either. I don't give a fuck what's happening, what war. You don't want to send people with somebody who's doing sexual assaults. And this way is like the worst way you could do sexual assault.
Yes, to a defenseless person. When you have a position of power over them.
Yeah,
that's somebody who's not right in the head. Sorry,
exactly
don't need
right.
you in the army. Anyway,
no, we don't need you in Khan's beloved army
No.
or anything like that. All right, let's move on to save rounds and alibis, which today is going to be presented by our good friends at Cross Country Mortgage. I actually had personal experience with Cross Country Mortgage this week.
Oh, tell.
So we are in the process of doing, we're going to renovate our kitchen. We just moved into this house in March. And one of the things that we wanted to do after the first year, like we have yearly projects that we want to do for the next like 5 years or whatever to make the house better. So we're not just dumping a shit ton of cash all at one time. So I called Cross Country Mortgage because I wanted to see, one, I'd just been getting a grip of those types of advertisement in the mail, and you got it when you lived in Texas too. I'm sure you do, Nick, like if you own your home, where you get the refinancing where they're like, oh, if you do it now, your payment will drop $500-600 a month and you could do it. So I decided, we do these ad reads for Cross Country Mortgage all the time. I wanted to see what it was actually going to be like. And because we have some equity in the house, I wanted to talk about pulling some of that equity out to pay for the kitchen renovation. And so I called them up, and I didn't call. I forgot that we had a Barstool like person that was supposed to do ours, like a agent that works for us. So yeah, so I
didn't know that.
Forgot. Yeah, there's one, and you pay like less fees or whatever because they're a partner with us. Anyways, I called the regular line, and I told them what situation I was in, and she was like, "Do you have time to hop on like a Zoom call real quick?" And I was like, "Sure." And so I did it. We were on a Zoom call, and she was like, "This is the type of information that we need from you." And she sent it into the little chat, like the paperwork that I need, like in a checklist. She's like, "Once you get all this stuff, email it to me, and then I'll call you back. I'll set up a time for you to call. I'll give you a couple windows. You can pick which one." And I was like, "God damn, man, this is easy." I wish the first time I bought this house, it would have been that easy. I went back and forth with this dude named Chris Weir, probably fucking 10,000 times. It was the worst. He was like, "I need your 2019 W-2s. I give them to him. The next day, like, "I need your 2019 W-2s. Like, dude, it's at the top of your, I have to go to sent email. Yours is at the top of your email list. Why is this so hard for you to do? CCM, not like that at all. So if you want to buy a home or refinance a home, they're the best way to do it. Buying a home can be one of the hardest things that you're going to do. Cons, you're going to be in that boat pretty soon too. Right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. Now I was just thinking about when I bought my first home when I was 22 down in Texas, and it was just, I don't know, not confusing, but it just field.
You don't know what you're doing. When you buy a house the first time, you have when they bring out all those, I think the most shocking aspect of buying a house is when they bring out the title paper or the closing paperwork. And they show you like the payment slips of what 30 years of every single month looks like. Yeah. And you're like, dude, like right now, I looked at it when I did it last year. I thought, wait, if I pay this thing off on payment schedule, I'm going to be fucking 68 years old when I do this.
Yeah.
The worst.
That's wild.
But that's the way it is. You can go with a 15 or 30-year mortgage, or you can close really fast, because that's one of the biggest pains in the ass too, especially if you're doing a military move. You usually got to get in there real quick. They will do a 21-day close, which is really, really fast. Just go check everything out by going to crosscountrymortgage.com/barstool. So Cross Country Mortgage can take care of you through the home buying process. Cross Country Mortgage LLC, NMLS 3029. All loans are subject to underwriting approval. www.mlsconsumeraccess.org. All right, Nick, what do you got?
Yeah, save rounds. Just wanted to say that I hope Kate, feels better. I don't think people realize, like, when you're a parent and you have to go in these lines and just travel with your child, it's just absolutely brutal. So I just really hope Kate feels better soon so she can come back on the show, because it's brutal out there. So that's my save round is dedicated to Kate Mannion.
Yeah, feel better, Kate. And I'm curious that the ZD that we brought over, I'd love to know what it is on the Nona scale. So I might have to make another trade just for you.
I mean, if you really want the Nona to judge, we can arrange that. I mean,
wow.
that's a big move.
a ZD off.
That's a risky move.
Wow. Yeah. Interesting.
I mean, she uses the same
'Cause-
pot from like 1825 or however the hell old she is.
I love that she brings her own pots to your house.
That's fantastic.
They bring all of their pots over. So when they watch my daughter if they come over, they will bring like all the pots in their hands. So there's like 5 pots that come from my mother-in-law's house into my house. And to make 1 bowl of pasta, you are using 3 of those pots because the sauce cannot touch the pasta until a specific time and so on and so forth. It's a disaster, but it's their way or the highway.
Hey,
Yeah,
listen.
that's one of those things that we talked about at the top of the show. You just got to shut up and let the nonas cook.
Mhm.
But you get to eat it at the end of the day. That's not a bad gig for you.
Hell
either.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right, Cons, what about you, pal?
Yeah, talking about not arguing. So the other day when we were talking about sicknesses while deployed, and I came to the realization, I guess I really had dysentery when I was in Iraq. And first of all, I said to Alex, like, did you remember when you used to play Oregon Trail growing up? She's like, yeah, I never played that. So that was the first shot that I was like, Jesus.
Touch too young, right? Like she's probably just a touch too young.
Yes, I think so. So that was the first shot that I was like, geez, I can't believe you've never played this amazing classic game. But then like
Before you continue, I'm also so good at addition and subtraction of 3 numbers because of the spaceship game where you had to keep adding.
I remember the spaceship game.
Up.
Yeah.
That's what
that
taught
was a
me
good
how
one.
to do add because I wanted to make that rocket ship fly, baby.
Yes. And did you guys play Gizmos and Gadgets too?
Oh yeah.
Oh man, that was a good one. That was a real good one. Loved Gizmos and Gadgets.
Overall favorite toy that was in your room went 10 and under.
Oh,
Not
I had this
ball related, not like a football or anything like that.
And not video game related. I would say I had a He-Man sword, and it was, I mean, so I was, I don't know, 6 or 7 at the time, so it felt huge, but it was probably like 2.5, 3 feet in length, and it lit up and it made like sword sounds when you swung it, like ching, ching. It was the coolest thing ever. What about you guys?
What about you?
From the Dragon Zord with Power Rangers, the Green Ranger had the flute, and I would play that thing all day long.
That's a good one. Mine's either Lincoln Logs. I was a huge Lincoln Log head, or Creepy Crawlies. Did you ever have those?
I remember those. I didn't have them, but my friends did. So
The
I
creepy
remember
crawly,
them.
like the oven that you would put in. You could make like worms or scorpions or anything like that. Whenever I would get the white rubber glue, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna make one that's gonna make your fucking dick explode. This thing is gonna be incredible.
And you could like drink the potions too, right? Like you could like,
oh yeah,
you would
they're non-toxic.
You're non-toxic. And the theme song to Creepy Crawlers, that commercial was just legendary one.
Creepy Crawlies, man. When I opened that bad boy up, I was like, holy shit, this is incredible.
Yeah.
All right. So what
But
else?
so I was telling her about the dysentery I had in 2008, and I was explaining to her what dysentery was, and she proceeded to get mad at me for something that happened when I didn't even know she existed in this world. That was over 13 years ago, or
I think it's fair. I'm on Team Alex here.
14. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. 14 years ago. I got a little officer's corner. I've been seeing recently on social media, people posting themselves at nice restaurants or steakhouses, and they're wearing like t-shirts and hoodies. Listen, unless you're like Justin Timberlake.
What about if you're me?
No, I even think you should be better than this. Dress appropriately for the restaurant that you're going to. If you're going to a nice restaurant, at least have a collared shirt on. Dress for the place that you're going. Don't just walk in anywhere and just assume everything is casual, because it's not. I still think even in this world where people are working remote and things are more casual, I still think there are certain places where you need to dress the part, and nicer restaurants are part of that. So if you get invited or have plans to go to a nice restaurant, please plan to wear something appropriate and don't walk in there with a hoodie. You will look
the nicest
ridiculous.
thing I'll wear is a polo shirt.
Yeah,
I just don't like wearing button-up shirts. I don't like it.
We'll have to talk about this, because there are some places I'd love to take you in New York City, but if you wear a polo shirt, they won't even let you in.
Well, then I won't go. There's plenty of good spots. They're fine. I'm not wearing a suit. That's a promise.
All right.
I will say, if I was going to ever dress up fancy, I would like to be a Dynamite sports coat guy.
Dude.
Like where If I was going to go and if I worked in a normal business, I think I could be like I love the corduroy sports coats.
Okay. All right. I love it.
Like a camel color with a tan elbow
patch.
I wouldn't mind that. Yep. Yeah.
All right. Next time you're up, I'll bring you to my guy. We'll get you all set up with it with a new coat. And then you don't even have to be here because he'll make it and then he'll just ship it to you.
The coat?
Yeah. You can design it yourself.
How much we talking here? We talking over 150?
Yes, but still very affordable.
Okay. I don't want to go much. I can't go because it's so high here, Cons. What am I going to wear?
That's true. That's true. So maybe we'll get you something in material that is more conducive to the weather in San Antonio.
Yeah. Which is polo, I think. for my safe rounds, I want to say, what the fuck are you doing, Greg Abbott? There's a story that came out on military.com. The governor of Texas, who is also the commander in chief of the Texas National Guard, is denying hardship deployments for a lot of folks that need to leave their deployment. They have 150 requests from the National Guard troops right now, and Governor Abbott's border mission found that a majority, at least 127 of the applications between October and November, were denied. A lot of these people had to prepare for these deployments last minute where they're losing money. They're not getting fired from their civilian jobs, but they're not getting paid for their civilian jobs. And the difference in finances for a lot of these people is extreme. I mean, one dude was saying that he lost in the period that he's been there since November to now $15,000, and his house he's having trouble paying his house payments and things like that. They've got to figure this out, and don't just be out there because it's all seemingly to me without intel. This is all like for commercials and shit. If you lived in Texas and you saw just during Jeopardy, the amount of Governor Abbott for Texas reelection commercials with him down in his wheelchair in a Border Patrol uniform, like rolling around down there. It's like, what are we fucking doing? Is this why you're doing it, for political purposes? The answer is yes.
Yeah.
Like, why? I just don't understand. I don't understand how the National Guard is going to keep people. Like, if you're having this issue with active duty where you're constantly getting basically guaranteed pay, guaranteed college education, guaranteed VA rights and things like that, these people at the National Guard, the Texas National Guard, are not getting any of those guarantees.
Yeah.
Like, why would you stay?
No, it doesn't make sense. I never served in the National Guard, but seemingly the mission of the National Guard has had a dramatic shift in recent years that I don't understand.
I mean, between that and the billionaire funding South Dakota to come down to the border and all that stuff, the National Guard needs a review. Like, we need an overall national IG to come in and be like, these are the things that you can require the National Guard to do. It actually has to be an emergency, like a legitimate emergency for you to make them leave their lives and leave their families, because you don't get that time back. And it's something that I think that folks who haven't had to step away from family for a long period of time in service to your country don't really
appreciate. No, you can't appreciate it unless you do it.
I will never know, ever in my life, I will never know what Kelsey was like from 18 months to around 30 months because I was gone for so long. Like, dude, I just won't ever know that kid.
Yeah, and you'll never get that back. Obviously, It's unfortunate.
She'll never have her dad there for that time, which is an important thing as well.
Yeah, and that's such a formidable time. So I agree with you that they need to look at what's going on with the National Guard.
Just stop fucking with the National Guard. Just let them live, dude. Just let them.
Yeah.
If we need them, like, fantastic. Right now. Like, whenever there's a hurricane that comes through, and Governor Abbott is like, we need all the National Guard in Houston right now because Houston's underwater. We need to get people out. That is exactly what it's for. Get them in there for those 2 weeks to stabilize the situation, help out local law enforcement, local first responders, and then send them the fuck home. If you need more money for the Border Patrol, fund that. Like, find actual jobs, because you could do that in Texas too. Have that be law enforcement job, not military, not people that have to leave their actual fucking real world jobs where they're trying to get retirement and live. That's capitalism, baby. Let them go back to work. Jesus Christ. We'll be back here on Tuesday.
Oh, sorry. I just thought of one last thing. I was yesterday I was watching Armageddon because Carl from Barstool was tweeting all about it. So it had me top of mind. So I was watching it. And they do the part where they're training them to be astronauts, where they take them up in the jets. I'm just gonna start saying this semi-regularly. Please, somebody in the Air Force or the Navy, please take us up in a jet. Please.
Do you guys don't have jets in the Army?
No.
Oh, we got some
You
in the
got
Marine Corps.
choppers. Yeah, you do. So it could be a Marine Corps pilot too. I just want to go for a ride in a jet. Is that so much to ask? I
It's
feel like
really
we've
not.
No.
I mean,
There's
for what
people-
you've sacrificed on this
Yeah.
show, I mean,
Seriously, I've given 7, nearly 7 years of my life to this show, and all I'm looking for is a ride. I've given to the military community. Please give me a ride.
yeah.
Give us all a ride.
Selfish pilots. That's what I've always said since day one. That's what
Seriously.
I've said. And
They've
it remains
always
the
been
same.
out for themselves. Hey, excuse me.
Disgusting.
I'm surprised Congressman Kingsinger hasn't stepped up and made somebody in the Air Force give us a ride.
He's just too worried about Twitter. That's what it is. He's like, oh, I got to get these tweets off instead of getting cons and chaps up in the air. Disgusting.
Seriously.
How about you
Come
do
on.
your job, Congressman? That's the first thing. Look
Look
out
out for
the
your people.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I got.
Constituents used to matter. The state of America. Sound the retreat.